Hey there, this is Margaret Gill of Abundant Private Practices, and today I'm here to speak to you about speaking. And you might go, whoa, speaking, that's the S word. No, not for me. I don't want to hear about speaking. Speaking is bad. It is terrifying for me to even think about speaking. I will never speak in front of an audience. Click, I've gone. So either I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking to myself, or I have got the people who truly do want to speak with me. And yes, those people that have clicked away, they are quite right, because stats show that about 97% of the population would rather be dipped in a vat of boiling hot oil than go up and speak on a stage. That's pretty bad, really. They'd rather die than speak. And it's because speaking makes us do things differently. It makes us be the person who stepped away from the tribe. And that's why it's so hard. But the lovely thing is, once you've stepped away and you've gotten used to that feeling of the disconnect from the tribe, what happens is the tribe start looking at you. And for anyone with a message, that's really important. And I believe the reason that you have stayed is because you have a message. You know deep down here in your heart, really in your heart, you probably may not have even shared this with anybody before, but it's very common for me to hear this from my heart-based people that I work with. They're often creatives, they're often natural therapists, they're often well-being practitioners, and they work from the heart. They're really heart-based, and they have often had vision of them in front of big audiences. What they haven't seen is how to get there. And the reason I work with these people who have no idea how to get their message out and speak and work a stage is because that was me. I was that person. I had no idea. I'd had the vision too. Massive, big rooms I had seen myself speaking in many times over. And it's my mission in life now, I believe, or it's part of my purpose, to help as many people as I can who have seen these visions, or have maybe you're not a seer, they feel it deep down inside that they have something they've got to share with the world. Well, I'm the person to come to when you're that person that has no idea. You've got no idea where to start. I will help you get your message out there and teach you how to speak, because you already have the message, because it's your purpose. It came in with you. The minute you took breath, you had that purpose there with you. What you need to do now is simply learn how to get that message out to the world. And it's possible. Trust me, when I first started this whole gig of speaking, or being a coach was where I started. I was at the Coach Federation, which is the International Coach Federation, which is our governing body. I was there as a member, as a new member, it was some years ago now, and they were asking for a novice coach to come along and do a talk about what it's like and how the ICF could help a novice coach. And I could hear that loud voice in my head going, no, not you, no way, no. But what I could see out of the corner of my eye was my hand in the air. I could see my hand up there. And I'm like, oh no. And at that moment that I realized my hand was up, I heard those dreaded words, "Thank you for volunteering, Margaret. We would love to have you speak." And I to this day don't know why I put my hand up, but you often find that involuntarily you will end up on a stage like I did that time. And what happened is I went into shutdown because I got really frightened about the concept, and I just was hoping and praying that Armageddon would come so I didn't have to talk. And sadly, the day before the talk was due, Armageddon hadn't wiped us out, and I realised I would have to start writing something. So I started by delivering a talk that had already broken about 50 rules. And one of them is, of course, prepare more than you need to think you do, and practice more than you think you do. But all I did was I simply wrote down my thoughts in chronological order. I had my sheets with me when I spoke, and I read off of those sheets, which is breaking the rules big time. And I'll show you what happens when you speak off sheets. So you've got them in front of you, which has already got a barrier. So imagine there's a sheet here in my hands, And the second that you disconnect and you go out of presence with your audience and you put your head down and you start reading off the sheet, look what happens. And that's why I teach you not to use notes. Cue cards, yes. Notes, no. Because you lose presence with people. And part of what you're going to learn with me if you come on board is you're going to learn how to be really present, because presence is the magical energy. And so what happened was, this was really interesting, after me going into some really deep places of fear going up to that talk, I delivered my talk really badly. And that's not me knocking myself, that's me knowing now what I didn't know then. I did it really badly, and I did it in front of people who knew better. They knew how to speak. There were people in that room that were commanding speakers. And I got up there and I did it really badly, but I did it. So imagine how I felt when after I'd finished, but imagine how I felt when I stepped down off of the stage and I started to see people coming towards me. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to cane me for doing so badly. And what happened was, imagine this, people who I had looked up to, named coaches who I had looked up to and I had never met. I'd been to meetings before, but I'd been too scared to go and talk to them because they were these like out there really big sort of names. Imagine them coming towards you, looking straight at you, and them saying how well I had done. And from that moment on, everything changed, because something in me that night realised the power of the front of the room. You get to everybody. Whether you do it badly or not, it doesn't matter. You get to everybody in the room, and everybody in the room knows who you are. And so that was one of the greatest things that I've ever done, is to speak at that event, because it taught me how to overcome my fear of speaking as well as my fear of networking all at once. Still to this day, I am really bad at networking. And again, that's not me knocking myself. I'm just really bad at it. I'm not a good networker. But I have figured out that if I turn up and speak, the whole room know who I am. So that's my networking box ticked. And when I was in corporate, I had this saying that I never knew whether I was smart or whether I was lazy. But I never ever took the hard road to get somewhere. I would always find an easy road in. And speaking has been that easy road in for me. It has just obliterated my need to do networking. And whether that's smart, I don't know, or whether it's lazy, I don't know. But I no longer have to network. I go along and it's instant networking. Even if I don't get to speak to people, they go away knowing who I am. And that's really, really powerful. So with the speaking, what I figured out was, very quickly I figured out there were 2 rules that you must never, never go by. And this was why I was successful in that first talk. It had nothing to do with how I delivered. That didn't matter. Yes, there were people there that probably knew I did my delivery really badly, but what they heard were the 2 golden rules. And these are the 2 golden rules of speaking, and if you adhere to them, you will always be a good speaker. And they are, number 1, always talk about something you know a lot about. So never, never talk about a topic you don't know backwards. Rule number 1. And of course, I met that rule because I was speaking about being a novice coach. At that time, I knew everything there was to know about being a novice coach with bells on. I'd been to hell and back as a novice coach. In fact, the depression that it caused very nearly caused me to take my life. It was that bad. So that journey was very easy for me to talk about. Number 2, never speak to an audience that don't want to hear what you've got to say. And so there I was in my inaugural speech talking to an audience that were riveted because they love coaching. And as Sheldon says, bazingo, there I was in an audience that loved my topic. And these 2 rules must never, never, never be broken. And if you do a bad talk, you'll go back to those 2 rules and you'll be able to see which one you broke. And if you can keep to those 2 rules, you'll be golden. So don't ever try to convince an audience of anything. Just go and speak with passion, speak with love, speak to people that want and need the knowledge that you have already in your head, and you'll be magical. So it was really interesting for me that I was able to do that without knowing one of the rules even. So the speaking thing, even though it's new for you, it's also my journey, and I've been through many teachers teaching me this. I after that talk, I knew that I'd gotten away with it once. It wasn't going to happen again. I wouldn't get away with it again, because I would never have that platform to speak on as a first-time speaker and a novice coach. I'd done it. I was now a second-time speaker, and I figured I'd better go and find out what these other guys know. And I've learned from some of the greatest speakers, well, in the world, some of them, and it's cost me a lot of money. I estimate that it's probably cost me around $100,000 to learn to speak, and that's ongoing. As a speaker, you get to one level, and then you suddenly realise there's a whole new level out there. So speaking covers a lot of bases. Speaking can be one-on-one. So as you will find, when you speak one-on-one with your clients, when you learn speaking, you will learn to speak more powerfully with that client one-on-one. Speaking can be 1 to 2. So you could perhaps have 2 people in a room and be speaking. So learning to speak allows you to speak to any audience. So now, as I'm doing this camera, as I'm going direct to camera, I'm using speaking skills to get there. So when speaking covers a lot of bases, and we speak all the time. It doesn't matter whether you're speaking to clients, whether you're speaking to the person that's packing your groceries at the supermarket, and it doesn't matter if you're speaking to a room of 8,000 people. Same rules apply. But as you get up and up and up the ladder, you're going to need to learn more. As you suddenly speak to a room of 10 people, you're then going to need to learn how to speak to a room of 100. And when you speak to 100, you then need to learn to speak to 1,000. And then you'll need to speak to a room of 20,000. I've seen speakers talking to stadiums with 80,000 people in it. It takes a lot of personal energy to be able to speak to an audience like that. And we see it with the rock bands. We see people like, when I saw the Rolling Stones at Wembley, they were about this big. They were these tiny little ants crawling along the stage because they were so far back in the stadium. But man, did they command that stadium. And this is what you have to learn to do as a speaker, is you need to learn to command the stage and command your energy as well. And I believe that every person that has a message needs to learn to speak. You just need to. And so I'm going to go through today with you the 7 reasons why you would want to do speaking. And there's 7 R's of courageous speaking. And let's start with the first one, which is reach. And we've just been speaking about this. Speaking, the power to speak, gives you reach. And that means that you can reach out to so many more people than you would be able to one-on-one. And when you learn to speak, your audiences just get bigger and bigger. We're not going to ask you to go and speak to 8,000 people the first time you speak. We're going to ask you to speak to maybe 4 or 5. Start small and build up is the answer. But even to speak to those 4 or 5, it might take you an hour to speak to them. If you'd spoken to them one at a time, it would have taken you 5 hours to deliver the same amount of information. So you can see how you can reach out to people and save a lot of time and energy. This is the lovely thing about it. And speaking allows you to get your message out to many fast. And that's what we have to do. So in the old days, there was an older energy before, and it was very sort of stuck and stagnant. Well, we've moved into a new energy now. Have you noticed how fast this new energy is going? My word, things are just spinning by, and there's a lot of people out there that are really struggling with this new energy. And we need as many of you out there speaking to them so that you can give them the tools they need to be able to deal with this new energy. So reach is important for you to be able to reach more people, but also reach more inside and pull more of yourself out. So reach is a really interesting one, and speaking at any given time is teaching you to push out, but also to dive in as well. The thing I wasn't prepared for with speaking is how much personal growth it would bring and how much healing it would bring. It's amazing how much I have healed many of the wounds of the past just by learning to speak. So it's very, very powerful. The second thing that learning to speak courageously will do for you is it will give you resonance with an audience. And your resonance is unique. You can, if you go out as yourself, you only get in trouble with this one if you go out and try to copy others. But if you go out as yourself, the resonance of you is what they get. And people like to work with people. And that is why this works so greatly, is because they feel the resonance of who you really are. By you speaking from your heart and speaking truthfully and authentically, they get your resonance. And that's what allows them to come up at the end of the talk and go, can I have one of your brochures? Can I get on your mailing list? Can I book in with you because I really felt what you said? Some of the most common words you will hear when you speak is, I liked what you said about. You'll hear people coming up to you after the talk and they will say, I liked what you said about, and then they will describe what you talked about. If you have the right tools and the right knowledge and you're delivering in a way that allows people to connect to your stories and connect to who you are and feel that resonance, they will come up to you afterwards and they will say, I liked what you said about blah, 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 and then they'll say it. And that's that resonance that they are connecting to. They're connecting to who you really are. And that is what I'm all about, is bringing that resonance out of you so others can connect to it. And I can tell you most people dismiss their own resonance as it not being good enough, or they should be more like Mary or Peter or Jane, or they try to be like everybody else instead of bringing that resonance out of themselves. And so it makes it easy to be a good speaker, because really all you have to do then is turn up as yourself. But it does take a little while, of course, for you to be able to draw that courage and confidence out to be able to speak in that manner, to be really courageous and tell them who you really are. A little bit of effort and time goes into that, but once you get it, man, you'll just be on fire. It'll be amazing. Number 3, reputation. Speaking builds your reputation. If you want an easy way to get over top of the competition in your area, go and speak. It will build your reputation just like that. If you speak to 4 people, you are now the recognised expert with those 4 people on the topic you have spoken on. It's just automatic. I often tell people, when a stage generally has steps going up to it, and that's also part of the magic of speaking. It raises you up above an audience. But as you take those steps up, you're actually taking physical steps onto the stage, but you're also taking physical steps in reputation and who you are. So it's a step up, and your reputation will grow faster because more people are seeing you. But when they're seeing you as the expert in your area. And I can hear the voices now going, oh yeah, but I'm not going to. Everybody starts making excuses why they wouldn't be seen as that person. Well, you just are. It just happens. You don't have to do anything magical. Even if you, like me, got up and did the most rubbish talk that could ever be done, it built my reputation with those people that heard it, because it was coming from my heart, and that's what they heard. And suddenly I was the coach that spoke, as opposed to all of the others that day when my hand was up, all the other cowardly custards that didn't put the hand up. That mush of people never stepped up and built the reputation as a speaker. But that day, somehow I did. I did do that. And I still to this day wonder how I did it. Number 4, the 4th R of speaking courageously, what it gets you is respect. Let's just take a look at respect for a moment. I think, honestly, the thing that's missing for most natural therapists is a lack of respect for themselves and the knowledge that they hold, but they also seek respect. Respect as a professional, respect as the go-to person, and respect as somebody who has done so much work to get where they are, and they often don't get that. Speaking will give it to you instantaneously. People will just respect you for taking those steps up onto the stage. You don't even have to say anything. They'll respect you because of that thing we talked about right at the start. Most people would rather be burnt in a hot vat of boiling oil, burnt to death like that, than speak. So there's automatic respect. And if you can learn the stages and the way that you step an audience through the information you're delivering, you learn to tell your story, you learn to sell a product at the end or a service, or even just sign them up for your database at the end, they will respect you. And let's be honest, that's something that a lot of therapists miss, is that respect. They want to be seen as a professional in their industry. Well, getting up and doing a really solid talk or speech or delivery of something to an audience will gain you instant respect. Speaking also brings results. Funnily enough, in all of this, speaking brings results. And those results vary widely in what it brings, but the biggest result I think I have from speaking is who I've become. It's given me a gift that has jettisoned me into a world I never thought I would be in. Speaking brings you clients. It brings you more people who want to work with you. It brings you, often will bring you some media attention as well. It will start to move your message out further, and it will start to see you given the respect and the recognition that you need. There's another R. Respect and recognition that you've been seeking but haven't been able to get one-on-one at the table, simply because you haven't had the platform. You haven't stepped up onto that platform yet where the respect and the recognition comes. And the results come almost as a consequence of you doing the work that gets you onto the stage. It's almost a given right. Once you get up there on that stage and you're prepared to keep doing it, it won't happen probably the first time you do it, but over time, as you get better at it, you'll be amazed at what happens. Number six reason why you would want to do courageous speaking is it brings revenue. Speaking is a great way to sell your products and services without selling your products and services. If you can give people a real idea of who you really are, they will automatically want to come and buy from you. So instead of you constantly having to be pushing your products out to people, imagine pulling people in. They just come, they just arrive up to the stage and go, could I please have your business card because my friend Mary really needs what you've got. Or coming up and going, I've had these aches and pains for years. I believe you can help me. Can I please book in? It brings revenue. Clients bring revenue, funnily enough. And there's one way to get clients, I believe, and that's through speaking and being out and about with people, meeting people. And networking does that, but it does it over time. Speaking, pretty instant. Bam. There you are, they've all met you, they all know what you're about, and they can come and choose to work with you or not. But the lovely thing is when you go to an audience, and maybe you've got 10 people in the room, each of those 10 people are instant referrers because they've seen you speak, they've seen you in that space of respect and recognition. You are suddenly seen as the go-to person in the area of expertise that you have stood up there as, and bam, they also refer. There's another one. Another R. They refer. Bam. I'll have to go and do the top 10, I think. I've got enough for a top 10. Yay. And the other thing that it brings is relevance. Number 7 is relevance. It makes everything you do relevant. And it brings the audience to a place where they can understand the reason why they would want to work with you. When you do it right, you just can't turn up tomorrow and just blab anything out. You have to do it in a structured way. But if you can do that, you will bring relevance and understanding to people, and they will get why they need to work with you. And isn't that why you've been so frustrated? Because people can't understand why they need to work with you. Well, this speaking process allows people to see that really fast. But the most important R of all in these 7 R's of courageous speaking, the most important one is you must be prepared to be real. Really who you are. Turn up as yourself and just be that person. The power of that is amazing. When I teach these groups, the power of people coming out and being who they really are is just life-changing. And I can tell you the power of real has changed my life considerably. So, what have I got to help you with? You've gotten through the seven R's. You're starting to think, yeah, she was right. I have had this vision. I have seen myself working on big stages. I know I've got to get the runs on the board, and I've got to start building up so that I can talk to 2 people, and then I can start to talk to a stadium full of 80,000 people. Maybe you'll never want to do that. Not many people actually get to the point where they speak to those big stadiums, but maybe you just want to keep doing little talks to 10 people and getting 10 or so new clients each time that you do that. Maybe that's where you want to be. There's nothing wrong with that. The rules are the same, funnily enough, for speaking to 2 people or speaking to 2,000. Same rules. And once you learn to speak to 2, you can automatically speak to 2,000. It's just about you building up your personal strength and energy to be able to do that. So what I've got to help you is my Speaking Basics course, which this is really funny. This is one of my eureka moments where I was struggling to understand how I'm going to be able to help you guys. Because, of course, I've sold my home, I've sold everything, and I'm on the road now. I house sit. I'm a professional house sitter, and I'm on the road all the time, and I'm often away from my tools. And what tools I have left are in a container in the middle of country Victoria. At the moment, I'm a 2-hour flight and a 2-hour drive away from those tools. And I'm racking my brains going, how can I get this message out? Because in the past, my Speaking Basics course has been delivered live. You had to come for the weekend and you learned how to speak over that time. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And over the last few weeks, I've gotten a bit enamored with Google Hangouts. And whammo, yesterday, all of those 2 things came together. And I went, of course, I can teach this because people can see you when you're in a hangout and because I can see the participants. It's just like being there. So I've decided that I'm going to teach Speaking Basics instead of over an 8-hour period where you would come live and you would come to a venue. What I'm going to do is you're going to be at home with your computer. All you need is a relatively good computer, a webcam, and the ability to connect to the internet. And you need reasonable speed. So if you've got dial-up, it just won't work. You won't be able to do it. But that's okay. You can go to a friend who has got good stuff. And over 6 weeks, we're going to spend 90 minutes together, and for 6 weeks, and we're going to teach you, I'm going to break the information down. So instead of delivering it all at once, we're going to deliver it over a 6-week period. And what that means, and this is even more magical than a live event for a full day, is that each week you are going to implement a piece of the work that we do. So I'm going to deliver the information for 90 minutes, and then you're going to go away in that week and you're going to implement the part that I've just taught. So it might be you have to write the start of your talk. It might be you have to write the middle of your talk. It might be you have to get your handouts all ready. So at the end of the 6 weeks, you'll be good to go. You can go and do your first talk. Everything will be done if you've done the homework. And I call this is one of my done for you programs. It's you're good to go. You leave with it done. How good would that be? So all of the procrastination goes away because you're going to be here with me for 90 minutes like this. I'll be like this, talking like this, direct to camera. But I'll also be able to see you, and you'll be able to interact in the class. So with the Hangouts, when you speak, your face comes up big. When you stop speaking, it goes back down to the bottom tray, and I can see you in the bottom tray, and you can ask questions, you can interrupt, you can interact, and it's just magical. It's a magical, powerful tool that I've gotten really excited about. And I'm easily able to break my Speaking Basics course down and deliver it over a 6-week period, and all you have to do is turn up for 90 minutes on a designated time, on a designated day, and you will learn how to speak with courage, confidence, and knowledge. Those are the 3 magical things, and you will leave with your first talk written with everything done that you need to do. And you might say, well, Miss Marks, that sounds really amazing, but how much is this going to cost? Well, like I told you, it costs me pretty much $100,000 to learn to speak. This is going to cost you a fraction of that, an absolute not 1% of that. Will you need to learn more? Yes, it's the name of the game. You have to keep learning with speaking, but it's also it's blessing, because good speakers are constant learners. That's one of the ways that you know you're a good speaker, is if you're a constant learner and you seek new knowledge all the time. You will need to keep up with the trends. You will need to learn how to do different things, speak to bigger audiences. There's a lot to learn, but this will teach you how to get the basics right, and these basics will stay with you forever. They are the core essence of what you need to know. So the price is a fraction of $100,000. It's below. Have a read of below and you will be surprised how cheap it is to come to the 6-week course, and you will be surprised how much information you go away with and how easy it is for you to implement over that 6-week period. So sign up now. Don't procrastinate, just do it. And come and join me for the 6 weeks. And remember that you get to come once a week for 90 minutes for 6 weeks. At the end of the 6 weeks, you leave with it done. You're ready to go and do your very first talk. That's magical. Just do it. But the thing I want to leave you with, and the thing that's most important, is I want you to really connect in and understand why you're doing this. And the reason is, it's because you have a message. Deep within you, you know there is something that you have to share with the world. Deep within you, you know it's there. In fact, it's been there since before you took your first breath and entered the planet. You have a purpose. You have something to share with the world. Only you can share that message. It's been given to you, and only you can share it. You could bring change and lasting change to many. Yes, it's a little scary to think that it's just you, that person that's very normal and very ordinary, that you might have this mission that you need to go on to get the message out. Yes, it's scary, but it is part of your makeup. It's part of who you are, and it's part of your purpose. You deserve to feel what it's like to be in that purpose, to be delivering the message to people, and you deserve to see their eyes light up when they hear something that you say, or something you do, or a tool that you give them and they go and use. You deserve to see their eyes light up the moment that happens. And I can tell you it's magical when it does. So I want you to really think carefully about this. Are you going to leave that message festering away inside, rubbing at your soul like coarse sandpaper every day, knowing it's something that has to come out, knowing it's yours, and knowing that you have to bring it to the fore? You're going to let it rub any longer, or are you going to accept it and do something about it? Only you can answer that question. But I can tell you, it will be the best thing you have ever done when you step forward and start to share the message with many. I hope you can join me. It will be my great pleasure to accompany you on the next step of your journey. So until the next time, walk in courageous trust, connect deeply, and embody your purpose in every aspect of your business and your life.